Okay, back for round two, part two of royalties, I guess. We're supposed to talk about marketing today, and then it became a rant about samurai hairplay. Fantastic. So just so we know,
Why do
so
we plan?
yeah, exactly. Why bother? Why, it's just exactly what nightmare for it to be other people, but it suits me down to the ground.
Me too. It's great.
So Dawn and I had to take a look at the legalities of street performing and busking in South
Yeah.
Africa. So it's actually like everything in this country, a bit of a grey area. So
Mm.
technically, it's not illegal to busk, so play out, but depending on local bylaws and noise regulations, you might require permits. So
And then they
it's
may
illegal.
still have the capacity it may still be illegal to
Yeah.
busk in your municipality.
Yeah.
The government doesn't say outright that it's illegal. They
No.
just say check with your municipality itself. So each individual municipality has the right to say, yes, it's legal, no, it's not, or
Mm.
pay us. And then we
Sure.
might let you play on the street.
So basically,
So it's a,
yeah, wherever you're performing, make sure you may need to collect, sort of contact the local council. I'll tell you this much, Dawn. I went through a brief period of I needed to make money, and I started working with a cheese company. I was going to markets and selling cheese, and that it's probably the best job I've ever had in my life. Shame I didn't make any money, but selling cheese seems to be why I was born. It was amazing,
you're
but
calling in life.
it was just cheese and dairy is the anyway. The basically with the success of the markets now, the local councils have gotten wind of what's going on and started charging sort of sales these really vague sort of you need these okay this is what you need this not certificate but like what's the word help me out yeah like
Permit.
a
You're looking
license
at,
yeah like
yeah,
a
like a
yeah
permit.
yeah like a permit yeah a sales permit yeah exactly and so go there and it's all vague and you'd go up someone say for example you were setting up a market in Pretoria. They go, guys, please, you need to contact the council and get the permit. And they're like, well, who do I contact? And they're like, we don't know. You need to phone Pretoria. Pretoria is big. All right. There's a lot of people working for
Mhm.
Pretoria. Anyway, so started phoning around, asking for a permits and stuff like that. So, emails kept being forwarded and forwarded and forwarded and forwarded to other people. Eventually I gave
And
up.
no one knew who to talk to.
Well, what was interesting, I was working at a particular, I won't name names, but a particular golf club had in East Pretoria, had a market. And there was three individuals from the council kept turning up every Saturday and harassing everyone and going. And then basically
Oh,
we
wow.
had to pay our permits. They were charging us a weekly fee and stuff. I paid it once and then told the guys I'm not. And then I did that whole view. They said, "Well, if you don't knock it, you're not going to get your permit. You need to pay us weekly." Blah blah blah. Anyway, so I phoned up and I asked the guy when he came in there, and he was kind of had the smirk on his face, like, "What's what this is what you need to do." And I just said to him, "Oh yeah, so that guy there is selling Vorse rolls at the taxi rank. You charging him as well?" Is that how you work? And he just laughed in my face like I was an idiot. But it's like, okay, cool. So we're being it's clearly extortion. So
Yeah.
I said to the marker, I said, I'm not paying that again. Until I get to actually just get to speak to someone. I want a number. I want actually someone in authority that I can speak to and ask the legalities of that.
Mm.
So we go and actually they phoned the guys and so the guys are refusing to pay. What do you want to do now? So eventually it's sort of cleared off. But by then it had totally killed the market because people were just leaving. The
Yeah.
like vendors were leaving and they're like, we're not paying that. It was
Mm.
something silly like I don't know, it was like 250 rand a weekend or something. And then if it was
Mm.
more, if it was 2 days and it killed the
You're
market.
already paying a
Totally killed the
storeholder's
market.
fee for these markets anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
this is it.
So
So
out
it's
of interest sake,
mm,
what I'm going to do, just for curiosity's sake, is I'm going to go to my local municipality
yeah,
and see what their bylaws are on busking and see if they require permits and if so, how much they cost. Because
yeah.
now I'm just curious. How much are you charging a dude who's got nothing but a guitar on the street to play on the street. Because
Mm.
again, I find this situation to be one, like, I can understand noise ordinance, to a degree. If you're playing in a if you're playing outside a library, maybe it's going to upset a few folk or something like that.
Yeah,
But
sure.
you know, um, and I understand the logic of not obstructing the flow of traffic. Don't play in the middle of the road. Like, so
Mm.
logical things I can understand. But in general, I find this again to be one of those situations where you're kind of charging the musician to make music.
Mm.
And it's again another one of those, oh, you do this out of your soul, your heart, and your own
Mm.
inspiration. It comes
Sure.
from in you. Oh, no, you need to pay us for that.
Mm. Here's a cheeseburger though. Nice one. Have a cheeseburger and a beer. The old,
Yeah.
that should be the musician's salary. We should actually start calling that bit of money you get at the end of the gig, the cheeseburger and beer. That's sort of just called cheeseburgers and beers. It's got ridiculous. And it's actually why I stopped playing covers. Not doing it.
Yeah.
I did two freebies, two big sort of companies, and nothing came out of it. And I was phoning, and guys were just like, nah, nah, nah. And I told you last time, I had a guy sort of, I was playing somewhere, and I did that, and he never called me back. And I said, so well, I'd got a really good reception. It went really well. So, and he's like, listen, man, I can get someone in for like $150 for the afternoon. I you know, can you do 150
Why would I
Rand
pay you?
for what, for
Yeah.
3 hours of music? No, I can't. Sorry,
Yeah.
So I had
Yeah.
to take that choice and just sort of alleviate. It's like, if this is how it is now, and I think essentially music's become a free commodity for people, you know,
Do you
they
know what
pay.
I think? I think that there is an element of that. And after our last discussion, we chatted about how festivals create an experience, right? And I
Mm,
ended off the last episode by saying that I think that musicians need to learn to do a similar thing, where
mm,
you're not just coming in to play a show, but you're inviting people to share in a memorable experience that
mm,
contains your music. And that is what you're selling a ticket to.
mhm,
And so the tour that I'm planning on doing to Joburg and Pretoria is based around that concept. Actually, I took what we discussed and I thought about it and I thought, okay, cool, like, how can I create an experience that ties in with my brand, my sort of my genre, my lyrics, the things I talk about, and how do I make that into an event that people can participate in a much more visceral way than just
mhm.
coming and listening to a show and
Yeah,
having a beer. So I've really sort of planned my whole next couple of shows
mm,
locally and on the tour around this concept of having people come to participate in this experience, much
sure.
more theatrical, a bit more like a masquerade vibe, where a lot of my music sort of refers to mythology and folklore, fairy tale and legend. And so my concept is to invite people in to come as their favorite fairy tale character. I mean, Sean, come as Harry Potter, for goodness sake, show up and
Absolutely.
shine. But yeah.
I just need to memorize
So
some spells first, and then I'll be getting.
you know I think the main thing is just to try and get people to share in the experience in such a way that they want to come back to the next one even if they've heard the songs,
Mm,
and when
mm,
they come back to the next one, great, now they know and they can sing along whilst dressed in costume and character. I'm
sure.
trying to make it a bit more of an experience and see how that affects the bottom line and see
Mm,
how that affects ticket sales and the marketing and the brand, um, that I then develop, and the continued support after the fact from a fan
mm.
base. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how that concept plays out.
Yeah. Well,
I'm interested to see.
we're seeing it here, Dawn. The sort of birth, the tribute band things happening here now, particularly the new metals. In fact, I was interviewed a guy last night, Musa Mtambo, who's heavily involved, and like he's got his own what you call it, sort of a project called Triz. But then he does these tribute, Limp Bizkit tribute nights and stuff, and they
Right.
had a big fat party in Menlyn about last month or the month before. Anyway, place was packed, and there was three tribute bands. There was a Limp Bizkit, there was, I don't know, sort of Linkin Park, I think, and there was there's another band now that's doing the, what do you call it, the Korn tribute, the literally called the Korn tribute band, doing that. They've done a couple gigs. The first one was packed, Josie Show Bar. and then they played to a packed crowd at Rusty Hook. And it sort of
Yeah.
brings up on your points, a sort of it's offering the punter a bit more, in this case, nostalgia.
Yeah, I
These
was going to say
bands,
playing totally on
yeah.
nostalgia.
So these bands aren't coming here. It's kind of like why grunge took off in Seattle, I guess, because no one
Yeah.
wanted to go Seattle, and I don't blame them. Apparently, it's a bit of a shithole. So, but we'll leave that there. Now this is out in public. But anyway, but it's the same for Johannesburg, Pretoria, and Cape Town. And in South Africa, like you have to go see the covers bands, and maybe that's why covers bands are doing okay. Sit there and it's starting
Yeah.
to take off, but as you said, you need to offer it's also come down. I think the days just turning up with some songs memorized or learnt and practiced is not enough. People
Yeah.
work extremely hard for their money here and for not a lot of money as well with growing prices and stuff. And there's not enough customers to go around anymore. South Africa's
Yeah.
middle class is depleting by the day. So you've got to
Yeah.
offer, as you said, you got to offer something. You got to give people a reason to go and pay money to come back to the next one, and that's I
And
think where
absolutely.
yeah.
And a story that they can walk away with and tell,
Mm,
like it's all good and well for them to walk away and say, I heard this really great music. But if they can walk away and say, wow, I went to this party and there were all these people and they were all dressed up and everyone was having this jewel and there were all these characters and there was a dude that looked like that and he was wearing a funky hat and,
mm,
and the music just played into this whole thing and it was so cool and it was original. That is where we're going to find people holding on to something memorable,
mm,
and that's what I'm
sure.
trying to create. And I hope other musicians will take something from that and find something that works with their brand and do a similar thing. Because I think then we've got something that a draw card,
Mm,
something that'll pull people away from Netflix and
yeah,
their
yeah.
cell phones and out into the world again to have an actual experience, not just listen to a song because they could stream that, they could stream that
Mm,
totally and just have it in their own homes. But if you're offering them something that is unique and that is a full bodied experience, they're going to come.
mm.
At least I hope so. We'll see. But,
Sure,
this
sure.
brings us round to our original topic, actually, which is marketing music,
Hmm.
especially as someone who is independent. If you've got a record label, they have got people doing that for you. And good for you. That's great. It means that you, as the artist, don't have to figure that crap out for yourself.
Hmm.
But if you are like me and you are independent, you are funding yourself, you kind of, it's a bit like playing a video game where you open and unlock new levels of knowledge as you move up the tiers. You're in the industry for a certain length of time and you figure out that actually there's a cheat code to get X potion, which gives you X power.
Hmm.
A bit like that,
Yeah, yeah,
and I kind
sure.
of feel like I created the songwriter sessions, which I've been doing locally in KZN. And I was hoping that those would kind of allow me to share some of that knowledge, up and coming musicians, and make the journey as an original musician, as an original independent musician, a little bit easier and a more accessible thing for people so that
Right.
it's not just this great ocean that you're swimming in, floundering away without any
Mm,
lifeboat and no direction. So it's kind of been a big focus of mine. Has been marketing my own music and then helping others to figure out
mm,
how to do that themselves. And I don't want to go and start a marketing agency because that's just way, way more work than I have time as an artist or a musician myself to do. But
mm,
certainly to create a guidebook.
sure.
And I think that as musicians, you start out with creating a really good product. You got to record a good song. It's got to be of a good quality and a good
Crucial.
standard,
Yeah,
and then
crucial.
get your ducks in a row before you even start
Yeah.
looking at releasing that song. Make sure you've got your album artwork. Make sure you've got a write up on yourself as a musician, a good bio, a good EPK,
Mm,
information, a little brief write up on the album or the song, so that when
mm.
you do start sending it out to people, they're not coming back to you going, well, cool. What can I say about it? Make
Create
sure you have a whole
creates
package ready to send.
create a Wikipedia page. That's another big one, and just add to it as you go in your career. Call it almost like an online CV, and just any info on it. It's
That's a wonderful tip. That's
yeah.
fantastic.
I go to Wikipedia all the time just to find. So obviously, if it says, oh, Bob Dylan had tea with the Queen, and and then they sort of made love in the orange grove. That would need to be cited, but sure. But things like, just when stuff is released, and when how the band started, just general sort of info on yourself. I couldn't recommend that enough, because I mean, when I'm doing the radio show, often you need to go. Is that often I'm looking for bands or an album, like, so for example, with your two albums, puts up Dawn Melanie, an artist, and sort of put out what it is. So there's something there for people to view. It's a sort of good way to do it.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it yourself, it's coming straight from the horse's mouth, essentially. And I think that would be. I don't think that's done enough. It's something I've realized pretty recently, pretty late in the day, to realize these things. But it's it's pretty interesting. So let's go back to exploitation of music, I guess. So we've gone over the royalties, get there. So basically, you need to be registered, and you need to keep in touch. I like the idea you said of radio monitor, find these things. I release some DistroKid, who keep an eye on everything, streams and stuff like that. There's ways around it. And just being sort of registered, and as you said, when you release the album, don't release it till there's artwork, there's a press pack, there's you know how many musicians that happened today, they send me a whole bunch of songs, and that's like, dude, I need the name of the songs, or just like like
audio file 1, audio
Yeah.
file 2, audio file 3.
yeah, well, what side it's on one side. That's all. It's like, dude, does it mean the name of the songs, and it's all, just little stuff like that. So we go like a press pack. You don't have to go all out, but it's like, you've worked with Devo, like Devo's from Devo Graphic. I mean, that guy's press packs, the sec is just fantastic. And it's like yourself as well, there and then, like the info, the emails, everything's put out when you upload the MP3 for the show. It's just there. It's labeled. I don't have to think. I can just put it in my ear. I'm not having to. There's nothing worse. You have to rename an entire album. I don't have time for that.
That shouldn't be your job. All that metadata on a song should be in place before you send the song, because that's how that song is going to get tracked for radio plays, for royalty payments. So if you as the artist aren't making sure that your metadata is in place on your song, you're not making sure that all the information is correct and that the radio DJs have all the correct information, then you can't expect to be paid royalties. So that's the flip side. If you're going to be a lazy ass, you don't then turn around and be surprised when you got no royalties coming your way. You have to make sure that you have got the correct information out there. Like that is also a very essential part of this, is like being professional as an artist.
Wow.
We can't expect professionality from rights organizations and regulatory bodies if we cannot uphold professionality ourselves. It's all good and well to say, well, I'm an artist, like that doesn't fly in this day and age, unless you have the funding to pay someone else to do your marketing for you, and unless you have the funding to, actually pay someone to do the kind of paperwork of the job. Then this is part of your job description as an artist and a musician in modern day and age, is to make sure that you've got all your digital data in place, and that you have created a good press pack, that you create and start logging a list of contacts, radio DJs, music magazines, publications that review albums, and, just push yourself and create a little black book of names and numbers.
Do you think so? This is where the label is going to come to take off again. I think there's going to be. So in 2005, I actually went to a talk with a guy, a South African guy. Actually, he was running iTunes, and he came to chat to the college. I was like, about the business model, and he's saying, hey guys, and then it was like, you can now upload a song to your phone, and like, so and it's not to your phone, it was to the iPods. Remember iPods? Up there, and it was a new day, and I actually remember him saying there, it was my first day of music college, and he just said there, sorry guys, but this isn't the best time to be in the music industry for you, I'm just
Talk
like
about some brutal honesty,
those,
hey.
yeah, that's really like those words haunt me to this day because he absolutely, because up till that stage, everyone was still buying a CD. There was a bit of this internet thing was happening, and but and it's sort of if those words haunt me to this day because you just like I think if I knew what I know now about how the music industry was going to change, because at the time I was like, well, I want to do performance and music that, but like at least I can work through this, like work in the industry, and I really
Yeah.
wanted to do A&R work. So there, it's the sort of band development for labels and stuff. Really wanted to do that
Which
and stuff, which
I
is just
really
not a
wish that
thing
was still
anymore.
a thing.
Well,
I think
not,
it's like festivals need that. Like I think that maybe it's about rebranding where A&R lives.
yeah,
I
mm,
think that festivals need an A&R guy, right? I think
sure.
that
I
that
have
is
an
how it would
A&R,
keep things,
have an A&R
yeah, like
stage.
a division. Totally, yeah. And
Yeah,
I
have an
think
A&R
that
stage.
that is really something that needs to be kind of pitched to a few of our bigger festivals, is this
Mm,
idea that you should be scouting for fresh
mm,
up and coming talent, and you know
yeah,
that that creates hype for your festival too. If artists know
sure.
that there might be an A&R guy at the show, like
Well,
they're gonna
they're
want to show up and shine a little more.
but they're investing in their future of their festival. This is what they don't get. Like this no, and
Yeah.
like with the take with EDM music and sort of, with the sampling and hip hop and the sampling and that's all well and good and it's cool. I love hip hop. Don't get me wrong. So they're so EDM. So as I get older, I seem to like electronic music a bit more than I did in my 20s. Anyway, that EDM and tequila, weirdly, I love tequila and EDM now. That anyway, but at some point we're gonna have to start writing music again. We're gonna have to start writing songs and stuff and investing. And again, all the money is being plowed into guys who are just using other people's ideas essentially. And
Mm.
it's cool
Mm.
ideas, don't get me wrong. But at some point we're gonna have to get the lyric back. We're gonna have, you know what I mean? So yeah, an A&R stage. I don't know, maybe start at
Yeah, I
splashy.
mean,
I think that would be
well,
a really
this is what I'm thinking. I think honestly, as someone in the music industry, someone like yourself or myself who now are interviewing a lot of bands, we get a lot of music sent our way and submitted to us. It's not such a bad idea to pitch
mm,
the concept of an A&R division to festivals, or
sure.
even like a whole A&R company that could serve multiple festivals.
Mm,
And then it allows us to diversify what we look for. Like
yeah.
not every festival suited to hip hop, not every festival suited to folk rock. It's like
Mm,
if we had an A&R company that was then going around and saying like, okay, cool, well on our database now we've got 10 up and coming hip hop acts, sort of 20 rock acts.
mm,
Then it would allow us some room to say, well, we're going to submit you guys through to Park Life. We'll submit you
mm.
guys through to Splashy Fen. You can go to Up the Creek. You can go to,
Depending
we
on
could source, we
where
could
they
serve
are.
like
Yeah.
totally. And we could serve the
Mm,
whole of Southern Africa like that, man. There's
mm,
amazing
sure.
festivals happening. And I think that they require that input. So
Mm.
perhaps this is a little business model we're generating while we have this chat. But
Yeah,
it
sure.
all, yeah, this is all about music marketing, right? It's
Mm,
about like whether it's a festival that's marketing itself, that's music being
mm,
marketed by a bigger sort of stage, perhaps, or a bigger company. But it all boils down to really like putting the music out there in a professional manner and
mm,
having an industry that is growing and developing. And that is up to each and every one of us.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
all good and
yeah.
well to have a rant about how hard it is to earn your royalties in this day and age.
Mm,
But if we don't shift the narrative somehow, if we don't come up with innovation and we don't invest in creating new concepts and a new way of doing things, we can't expect it to change.
mm. Sure, sure. And it will, I heard someone say the other day, is that they're going to all the different, have you been to this festival, been to that festival? Well, and the response was, well, I mean, it's the same guys headline all these festivals. Just go to one.
It's
You
true.
know, we were sort of recycling the 90s at the moment. Those big bands,
Mm.
and those great bands, your Vonderbooms and your Nudies are back now. The Springbok
Yeah.
New Girls now are just phenomenal. Like they've got it's the original three, the drummer and the singer and the guitarist, and then they've got these sort of session guys, and I guess if you will, unless they're permanent members of the band now. but they're doing really,
Yeah.
really cool stuff. It's a much better show actually than I remember.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big Nudies fan back in the 90s. I was more of an Amersham guy, but the Nudies are like now. Where did I watch them? Oh, it's Sonage in Joburg.
Yeah.
It was awesome. It was a great gig. But we need, as you said, we need to sort of start getting these bands up now. There's a load of youngsters coming up. It's funny enough, COVID brought the whole bunch of people into the scene here in Gauteng. In fact, before COVID, I'm in my 40s then. I've been back sit there. So yeah, so I've been back 10 years. So I was in my mid 30s when I sort of got into the scene here and stuff. And I'd be one of the youngest guys in the room playing gigs, there. And we're like, I remember saying, well, where's the kids? Where's the lighties? Where's the lighties? And we're like, WhatsApp groups, Xbox, pornography, whatever, all that stuff. And
Yeah.
then COVID happened and boom, I think all these kids are like, I'm gonna learn to play guitar. I'm gonna learn to play drums,
Yeah.
and started
Yeah.
bands. And there's some really sort of good up and comers and stuff. And yeah, I agree. We need some sort of A&R. Is sort of, I think we've got too reliant on the labels to do everything. The labels do, if you haven't taken care of everything, they're not gonna. They need to see how many
Yeah.
streams have you got your marketing. Do you know who you
Yeah.
are? What are your songs? But then they'll take it and they're like, okay, let's do a single, see how it goes, and we'll go from there. Generally, people get fired after their first single. There's no
You
investment.
know,
So
I think the other thing is that as an independent artist, you can be responsible on a day-to-day basis for generating your social media following. That's a platform that we use, and if you know how to use it wisely, you can grow your audience um, to the point where festivals will then Google you and instantly show more interest in booking you
mm,
because you've gained already a following of people that you're advertising to.
mm,
Right. So, like any business, you've got to treat every aspect of your career as a business. Like that's social media, that's making sure you know a little bit about finances, so that if you are selling merch, you're not like selling that and just drinking the money instantly.
yeah,
You
yeah,
have
yeah.
to have something to put back into your band, back into music equipment, back into
Mm,
venue hire, music gear hire, whatever it might be. Make sure that you're running at least some sort of semblance of financials for yourself so you know
mm,
what's what, and you've got some capital to draw on to expand yourself, record your next single, whatever it might be. um Make sure you've got, like I said, your contact list, and work at growing it on like a weekly basis. If you do a Google search on a weekly basis as an artist for radio stations, be it rock radio or community radio or underground radio, indie radio, just whatever your genre is, put a couple of hours each and every week into expanding your database of contacts within that field.
mhm.
And you've got to, it would inevitably grow if you're constantly pursuing it and if your product's good.
Sure, sure. And again, you also got to sort of develop, get the product good, and I think that's what takes the time, getting that sort of product, and also think, how do we look on stage? What are the songs
Yeah.
saying? What's the sound? Are the tones right? The band is the band rehearsed? Often
Yeah.
I go to gigs and the band's just not rehearsed at all, and it's a big problem, particularly in Joburg. I don't know about KZN, but bands just don't rehearse that well here. And again, it comes in economic issues. Sorry guys, I finished work at 7. I can be there at
Mm,
8 o'clock, and then man, I got to be home by 9:30 for the missus. I got kids, and you know what I mean. It's that sort of
yeah.
stuff, and you're getting those difficulties. So it's just getting around that, and yeah, I agree. You got, we can sit and whine and moan about Samro and the government and stuff like that, but if you don't wake up every morning and be there for yourself, and sort of like, what am I taking care of as much as I can take care of? And then we're all sort of guilty of not doing as much as we can, you know. You have to start
And
there.
it's also easy to get despondent,
Mm,
like it's easy to go like, oh crap, well, I just I didn't have a hit single this week. Like, I didn't make it big this week, and that carries on for 10 years. And then you're like, oh God, I'm just going to quit. Well,
Yeah,
if you're
yeah,
going to
yeah.
quit, you're going to fail. Like,
Mm.
but there are, I think we mentioned last time, there's bands that have only made it, vaguely started to make it 10 years and 20 years into what they're doing. And hopefully for you, whoever's listening to this, you're one of those guys that make it within a year and a half. I really hope so. But
Yeah.
if you're not, just persevere. Don't give up.
Mm.
And continue to build your brand, build your product, continue to learn about this industry and grow in it and take it seriously.
Yeah.
And diversify what you do. If you want to, like I spoke about last time as well, there's funding accessible that I didn't even know existed until recently, where like you can go and apply for Concert SA's mobility fund. You can apply to SAMRO for funding that they annually give out to up and coming artists to generate new original music videos, albums, content of all kinds. And you can go to individual businesses. If you have got something that is marketable enough, that you have a following and a fan base that is large enough that you're an advertising asset, then
Mhm.
you can go to a company that you can go to an automotive vehicle freaking agency and say, hey, listen, sponsor me a car because I'm going to then drive around in your car to all
Yeah.
my shows around the country with your name attached to my brand.
Mm.
Make your brand something that is valuable, and you will gain support financially for
Mm.
your independent enterprise.
Sure, and this is what it comes down to, and this is where hip hop has really, and why it's dominated the way it has, in the way is that essentially the songs are there to promote the brand, the artist. So, Snoop Doggy Dogg at home is what Calvin Brodus. But as soon as he steps out that door, he's Snoop Doggy Dogg and the brand, and if you want
Yeah.
to collaborate, it costs this much and da, da, da. And he sells products he's associated with. Hell, he's doing cooking shows with blooming Martha, what's her name?
Martha Stewart.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and Snoop Dogg knows he's how it works. He knows he can't. There's no money in music, but Snoop Dogg can release an album, and then that album will help him get on TV shows, and it will help him get on collaborations, and it will help him get on this and that, and it will help him, advertise a mineral water or whatever or perfume or whatever he's involved in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the other ones, obviously the big guys have 50 Cent and all those guys all got these businesses and stuff like that. So that's sort of that what I really respect about hip hop is that hustle of accepting what it is. Right, where can we make money? Right, I am the product. The music's not the product. Music's just the advertising for the product, and I'm the
It's
product.
the
And I
catch.
think
Yeah. Yeah.
that's essentially the big change now, isn't it? It's
Mm.
you, and I think this is what artists forget. I think we're still viewing, and I do, with the music as the product. You are the product now, and that's how you
Yeah.
make your money. Sort of endorsements. Who did the car thing you're talking about? The AC/DC tribute bands, Merrick and then Ruan. They're
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
currently on a nationwide tour, and I think they got a car from some. I can't know. I can't remember the company was, but they did get a car, and they're shouting about, and they've put the. I think the band, I can't remember what the band's called either, but forgive me. But they put their branding on, and now they're going around. Last I heard they were in the Eastern Cape, I think, or
But,
you know,
yeah, same sort of thing with Veranda Panda. They've also been, recently given a vehicle with branding to travel
mm,
around in for the same sort of reasons. Like, and this is what I'm saying is like, you got to learn to hustle. That's where like hip hop came from, the streets where everyone was hustling anyway. So they came into music with this
mm,
concept of how to hustle. And as an independent artist, you got to take something out of that book and learn to hustle, man.
mm,
Learn to diversify what you think of as product, as brand, and as
mm,
accessible funding. I think as musicians, we're sort of just sitting there looking and saying, well, we need royalties and, we need to sell albums or we got to sell merch. Yes, all of those things.
that's
But
literally
you
one
also
thing.
need to be yeah, yeah. But you also need to be then pursuing other avenues of income stream into
Mm,
your brand.
mhm,
Are you a brand that would sell, Gucci handbags? Well, then, put
Sure.
forward a proposal. You know, are you like someone who's going to be off-roading and your brand is like rocky and rough and like, you know, from the Bundus, bro, then like go and get hold of Jeep, whatever it might be. But look at your brand and look at where you could tie in with other companies' marketing strategies and participate and collaborate. You know, collaboration is another thing I want to discuss, but that'll be another episode. But collaboration is broader than just what musicians you work with. It's, you know, it could be collaborating with other businesses outside of the music industry to share sort of word of mouth advertising and to generate a positive business ripple effect for both you and them.
Yeah, sure. And I think that's where it's at. It's sort of got to that. Do you know, I think the only millionaire from music, was it millionaire or billionaire? Might be billionaire. No, I just think it's a millionaire who's made millions straight from only music. It's Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift's actually through her streams and I don't know, the tours and stuff she's made about, but that's it. So not all of us are tall, blonde, blue-eyed, sort of goddesses. So we sing
Sounding a little
songs.
Aryan.
So singing songs about their ex-boyfriends. You know, not all of us are that person. So I don't know. And I think she's pulled that off. But that took her a while to do as well. I really don't get the Taylor Swift thing. But hey, fair fucks to her. It's just like how that team around her. She is the golden goose. Essentially, she's replaced Britney, or you know, Britney was that. Have you seen the stuff? Have you seen the stuff about Britney Spears lately? Those weird, the knife dance and stuff. On
I feel like I need to go and look more deeply. I'm missing some of this, but I hear what you're saying. Is that like it's very few and far between that music is the only source of income in the music industry these days.
Sure.
You know, and I think that in order to make a name for yourself and make an impact, you have to learn to be more diverse. Like, I mean, you look at me now, like, aside from all the things that I did up until last year, I was an artist, a visual artist, like painting. I'm a fire dancer. I create decor for festivals. I'm a musician. I'm a singer-songwriter. I do all of these things, live performance as well as recorded stuff. And then I realized like that is not even enough. Like that's not enough, right?
Yeah.
So then I just decided I got to pursue all of the passions that I have and see how they tie together, because they're all interwoven into each other, you know? So like I branched out into writing for music magazines, and so then I became like a freelance journalist and writer, and then I branched out into doing podcasts, and you know, now I have my own podcast. We're doing a series with your podcast, and I guest host, and Gatecrash does his podcast as well. So I get out there and I push every avenue I can, and it's a very fulfilling experience, to be honest, you know, to utilize all of your skill and to stretch yourself into finding new avenues of expression. Yeah.
Sure. It's basically the way it is now. And I think with musicians, although the one big thing musos have lost is the teaching to YouTube. I mean, there's just so many great teachers on YouTube now. I basically learned to play ukulele on YouTube and through little books and stuff like that. But anyway, Dawn, we have come to the end of this round. Thank you so much. And
such a pleasure, Sean. Thank you.
Food for thought. And thanks. Great chats. And I'll catch you on the next one. Have a great day. See you soon.
Absolutely. You too, Sean. Check you later.